You're good to go.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Knopper. I appreciate it. We're going to call to order the special council meeting here on Monday, December 13th, 6:30 p.m. Doing it through Zoom and obviously airing it through Facebook due to COVID-19 restrictions. You can submit questions at pnopper@townofstandrews.ca. And based on today's announcement, I think we're going to be doing this quite a bit longer via Zoom, unfortunately. Let's get into the recording of attendance. I note that all members of council are here. Yes, that's great. Thank you, council. I'll be looking for someone to move to approve the agenda. Can I have a mover? I got Councillor Heenan and a seconder. I've got Deputy Mayor Akaji. Okay. Any changes to the agenda? All right. All in favor of the agenda, please signify by saying aye. That's everybody. The agenda has been carried. Disclosure of conflict of interest. Is there any conflicts of interest this evening? I think we just lost maybe Councillor Blanchard, did we not? Seems like he dropped off. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Myself, I'm going to declare, unfortunately for Deputy Mayor tonight, 3, and they're spread out throughout the agenda. If you get into agenda item E, which is the actual motions, I'm going to be declaring a conflict of interest on E1, E3, and E5. So I'll queue you up, Deputy Mayor, when it's time. But yeah, I have quite a few this evening, but better to be safe than sorry. At this time, we'll get right, there's no presentation, so we will get into them. The first one is going out to, let's just jump ahead here. I think it would probably Councillor Heenan. Yes, Councillor Heenan, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Your Worship and Council. The first one is PED 211202, rescinding of motions for amendment bylaw Z21-04 603366 NB Limited Van Horn Garden Homes. Due to a procedural issue, the motions passed for amendment of bylaw Z21-04 603366 NB Limited Van Horn Garden Homes must be rescinded before the proper procedural process can be reestablished. The rescinding of the motions include the first reading of bylaw Z21-04, a call for public hearing of objections and views of the Planning Advisory Committee. The motion and the action is that council rescinds motions 458, 459, and 460 regarding the first reading of bylaw Z21-04, calling for the view of the Planning Advisory Committee and the setting the date of public hearing of objections for 603366 NB Limited Van Horn Garden Homes. And Your Worship, I so move this.
Thank you, Councillor Heenan, and thank you, staff, for catching this. I need a seconder. I see Councillor Gomichel's hand up. So is there any more discussion on this? We're just rescinding it and then we will be redoing it over again. So not seeing any hands up. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? None. So it's carried unanimously. Thank you, Councillor Heenan. We'll go on to the second one.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Hopefully the mayor will be back in a second.
I am back, yes.
You are back.
Just for housekeeping, Mr. Knopper, I just want to make sure for the minutes that we note that Councillor Blanchard did drop off the call, just since this one he did declare a conflict on in the past. Thank you.
Noted. Yep.
Just to let you know, he's just having connectivity issues. He should try to be on shortly.
Yeah, I think we've all had issues this evening. Mr. Knopper, you might be in high demand.
Will I proceed, Your Worship?
Yes, please do.
Okay, it's reference number PED 211203, rescinding of motions for amendment bylaw Z21-05 Belmax Limited. Due to a procedural issue, the motions passed for amendment of bylaw Z21-05 Belmax Limited must be rescinded before the proper procedural process can be reissued or reestablished. The rescinding of motions includes the first reading of bylaw Z21-05, a call for public hearing of objections and views of the Planning Advisory Committee. And the action and motion is that council rescinds motions 461, 462, and 463 regarding the first reading of bylaw Z21-03, calling for the view of the Planning Advisory Committee and setting the date of public hearings of objections for Belmax Limited. And your worship, I so move.
Thank you very much, Councillor Heenan. Can I have a seconder for that motion? I got again, Councillor Gumashell. Thank you, Councillor Gumashell. Any discussion on this motion? Okay, all in favor of this motion, please signify by saying aye.
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 That is everybody that has been rescinded, and I'll recuse myself for the next motion.
Thank you, your worship. I'll give you a few seconds while I flip over. And I will ask again, Councillor Heenan, you're on the spot, Johnny on the spot tonight. So would you continue with PED 211102?
Thank you, your worship and council. This is reference number PED 211102, amendment bylaw Z21-04, 603366 NB Limited Van Horn Garden Homes rezoning for PID 01326081, first reading. The background, council, is 603366 NB Limited Van Horn Gardens Homes is requesting a rezoning of PID number 01326081, a 3.4 acre lot at the southeast corner of Mowat Drive and Bar Road. The request is to move from the estate residential zone to multiple residential 1 zone to create a housing development. Please see attached report from Mr. Gopin, Senior Planner of Southwest New Brunswick Service Commission, for details on the rezoning request. The action and motion is that council gives leave for first reading to amendment bylaw Z21-04, rezoning of PID 01326081 for 603366 NB Limited Van Horn Garden Homes, and I so move.
Thank you, Councillor Heenan, and I need a second. We need a seconder, please. Councillor Gumashell, thank you very much. Any more discussion or any questions for Mr. Gopin, who's with us tonight? Not seeing any, then I will move for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Carried unanimously. Mr. Knopper, do I read this now or do I wait till the other next motion?
You should read it now just to get it out of the way, then we can move forward.
Okay, I will do that then. Gotta find my paper. All right, this is the bylaw number Z21-04, a bylaw to amend bylaw number Z21-01, being zoning bylaw for the town of St. Andrews. Be it enacted by the council of the town of St. Andrews as follows. 1, bylaw number Z21-01, the zoning bylaw for the town of St. Andrews is amended by changing the zone as shown on the zoning map attached to the said bylaw as Schedule A thereof for the lands shown on Schedule 1, attached hereto, and forming part hereof from ER, which is a state residential zone, to multiple residential zone, MR1 zone. Read the first time for this 14th day of December, 2021.
Deputy Mayor, it's the 13th day.
Oh, I'm so sorry. That's right. Tomorrow's the 14th. Excuse me, Mr. Knopper. I'm one day ahead. I can't wait for Christmas. Okay, so the 13th day of December 2021. All right, Counselor Heenan, we need you to go on with this motion. You have some.
Thank you, Your Worship and Council. Motion that council requests views of the Planning Advisory Committee for the town of St. Andrews as per section 110 of Community Planning Act on amendment bylaw of Z 21-04, rezoning of PID 013-26081 for 603366 NB Limited Van Horn Garden Homes. And I so move it, Your Worship.
Thank you very much, Counselor Heenan. We need a seconder, please. Thank you, Counselor Hurdle. Any other questions or concerns for Mr. Gopin, who's still with us? Not seeing any. I will call for the vote. All those in favor, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Counter reminded? Carried. And you have another motion with this one before the mayor comes back.
Thank you, Your Worship and Council. Motion that council sets the date of Monday, January the 10th, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. through electronic meeting for a public hearing of objections as per section 111 of the Community Planning Act on amendment of bylaw Z 21-04, rezoning of PID 013-26081 for 603366 NB Limited Van Horn Garden Homes, and I so move.
Thank you very much, Counselor Heenan. Could we have a seconder, please? Counselor Gomichelle, thank you very much. Any questions or concerns? Not seeing any, I will call for the vote. All those in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? So carried. And welcome back, Counselor Blanchard. It's good to see you back.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor, for leading us through those motions. But we're going to continue with Counselor Heenan. It's his night.
It's my night. That's my night to shine, I guess. Okay, Your Worship and Council, this is PED 211103. Amendment bylaw Z 21-05, rezoning of PID 15036-031 for Belmax Incorporated, first reading. Background, Belmax Incorporated is requesting a rezoning for PID 15036-031, a 2.1 acre lot between Mowat Drive and Canterbury Close subdivision. The request is to move from a state residential zone to multiple residential 2 zone to create a housing development condominium. Please see attached reports from Mr. Gopin, Senior Planning of Southwest New Brunswick Service Commission for details on rezoning requests. The action and the first motion is that council grants leave for the first reading to the amendment bylaw of Z 21-05, rezoning of PID 15036-031 for Belmax Incorporated, and I so move.
Thank you, Counselor Heenan. Can I have a seconder for that motion? I've got Counselor Gomichelle. We'll now open it up for debate. I know we did discuss this just a week ago, but there might be, thank you, Counselor Hurdle. Go ahead.
Thanks very much. Yeah, I know that my comments from last week are a matter of public record, so I won't go into quite the detail that I did last week, but just to sort of briefly summarize. Again, we have a difficult balance to strike with development and maintaining the community as well. And so I don't want to come across as being, against the development per se, but more in favor of striking that narrow balance. So in this circumstance, I'm hoping to save time for all parties involved by getting back to the drawing board. If it is possibly the intent of council to eventually not let this go through. So if we have an opportunity to pause this now or stop this now and go back to the table with the developer, then I think we should, just in a matter of moving this ahead more quickly, if eventually we turn around a month from now or whatever to say no. So my hope is that by voting against this, that I'd be joined to get back to the drawing board and find an alternative solution. So that's why I'll be voting against this today.
Thank you very much for those comments, Councilor Hurdle. Any other member of council? If not, we'll call the question. All those in favor of this motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And that is 4 for it. And anyone opposed? Councillor Hurdle, so that will pass by a vote of 4-1. So I will go to first reading. It is bylaw number Z2105, a bylaw to amend bylaw Z2101, being zoning bylaw for the town of St. Andrews. Be it enacted by the council of the town of St. Andrews as follows. Number one, that bylaw number Z2101, the zoning bylaw for the town of St. Andrews, is amended by changing the zone as shown on the zoning map attached to the said bylaw as Schedule A thereof. The land shown on Schedule I, attached hereto and forming part hereof from ER, that's a state residential, zoning to high density multiple residential, which is an MR2 zone. It is read the first time on the 13th day of December 2021. Next motion, Councillor Heenan. You are on mute, sir.
I apologize, Your Worship and Council. Motion that council requests views of the Planning Advisory Committee for the town of St. Andrews as per section 110 of the Community Planning Act on amendment of bylaw Z21-05, rezoning of PID 15036-031 for Belmax Incorporated, and I so move.
Thank you, Councillor Heenan. A seconder for that motion. I've got Deputy Mayor Akaji, and we will open this one up for debate. Any comments? Seeing none, we'll call the question. All those in favor of the second motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye, Your Worship.
That is everybody. That motion has carried. And the last one for this one.
Okay, thank you. Motion that council sets the date of Monday, January the 10th, 2022 at 7 p.m. through electronic meeting for public hearings of objection as per section 111 of the Community Planning Act on the amendment of bylaw Z21-05, rezoning of PID 15036-031 for Belmax Incorporated, and I so move.
Thank you, Councillor Heenan, for yet another red motion. A seconder for that one. I've got Deputy Mayor Akaji, and we'll open this one up for debate. Seeing none, all those in favor of this motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That's everybody. That motion has been carried. A quick question that maybe could be answered for the Planning Advisory Committee. Do we know when this, in motion 2, do we know when this would be before them?
Your worship, it'll be before them Wednesday night.
Okay, I was just making sure there was no delays associated with this, so it's still on the regular schedule for anyone that's following along. Thank you very much, Mr. Knopper, for that information. And we'll be jumping ahead to the next motion, and I'll be jumping off again.
All right, thank you, Your Worship. So we are now back to the Planning and Economic Development Committee, Councillor Heenan, with your amendment bylaw Z2106 to zoning B law Z2101 for Nanobrewery's first reading.
Thank you, Your Worship. Here we go. It's PED 211204, amendment of bylaw Z21-06 to zoning B law Z21-01 for Nanobrewery's first reading. The town of St. Andrews is seeking a zoning bylaw amendment to permit nano breweries in the central commercial zone, to add a definition of nano brewery to St. Andrews zoning bylaw bracket 21-01 bracket, and to allow licensed premises in the aforementioned nano breweries. The same amendment had been made to previous zoning bylaw bracket 10-04 bracket, but the newly adopted zoning bylaw did not carry forward this amendment. The amendment would be a text change to zoning bylaw Z21-01. Please see the attached planning report from the Southwest New Brunswick Service Commission. The action and motion 1 is that council grants leave for the first reading of the amendment bylaw Z21-06 to zoning bylaw Z21-01 regarding nano breweries, and I so move, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Heenan. We would like a seconder, please. Councillor Gummichelle, thank you very much. Are there any questions or concerns? Counselor Hurdle?
Thank you. Thank you. I just couldn't find my mute button. I just for clarity's sake, and I'm going to be honest with you, the way that I read this, it appears as though that, to be honest, we've dropped the ball on this a little bit. And so my question, when I look at the timeline, and we're looking at a public hearing of objection over a month away, and it seems to me from, what I'm reading here that might be too long. I'm not really sure exactly about, what St. Andrews Brewing Company is expecting from this, but is there a way for us to expedite this? Can we grant a temporary exception for it? Can we move to 2 readings in one night to kind of move this through? To try to help them establish their business. We're seeing quite a bit of a setback for that. So I think we really need to move this quickly.
Okay.
Unless anyone's opposed.
I'm going to ask if Mr. Spear or Mr. Knopper, if you can.
Councillor Gomichel had his hand up first.
Oh,
Deputy
sorry,
Mayor, maybe let
Councillor
him comment.
Gumshaw. Didn't see your
Thank you,
finger.
Deputy Mayor. I'd like to reiterate what Councillor Hurdle was alluding to. As a member of the past council and having spent a number of hours and meetings on this file, I was flabbergasted to see that nanobreweries weren't part of the new bylaw. It's beyond unacceptable that we're here and we're slowing down these folks. So doing 2 readings in one night is the least we need to be doing. We need to be able to give them their building permit as soon as possible. And we were battling a reputation that St. Andrews had as being a hard place to do business, and we did everything we could to get it going. And yeah, it's a procedural error, but we need to fix it ASAP and even quicker than that. Frankly it's a bit embarrassing, and I don't want to throw shade on staff or anything, but I was part of it too. So, but I'm disappointed that I didn't catch it and that nobody else caught it, and that here we are. So let's figure out how we can get it going quicker than this timeline presents. Thank you, Your
Councillor
Worship.
Gumshaw. We have done 2 readings in one night. I think Mr. Knopper and Mr. Spear can tell us that, but we have done that before. But I'm going to go to Councillor Blanchard before we do anything else. Mr. Spear, I'm sorry. Councillor Blanchard?
Well, and maybe it's just as well to hear from Mr. Spear or Mr. Knopper in terms of procedurally what we can do. I'm certainly all in favor of us doing, if it means scheduling a quick extra meeting or what have you, within the next several days or whenever the case might be, just to get this thing moving forward for the individuals. I think, like you said, as has been stated, I think this is a bit of a it's a bit of a black eye on the town, and we want to make sure that we rectify this as quickly as possible for the individuals involved. So hopefully we can move things very quickly. And again, I just want to say to have my support, and I'll do whatever it takes, and if it means an additional meeting or 2, whatever the case might be, to get this thing moving. So just wanted to make that comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Blanchard. Mr. Spear or Mr. Knopper, would you like to speak now, or?
Yeah, just, we appreciate the problem, and no, I'm off mute. Can you guys hear me or no?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, sorry, I've been having internet issues too. So we acknowledge the error was on behalf of staff. Unfortunately, we're unable to supersede the Community Planning Act, but what we can do is we've had discussions with the proponents, and there's things they can do that won't require the rezoning to get the project started. And we can do 2 readings. I think the first meeting we get back together in January 10th. And I think the proponents were okay with that. I was in discussions with Mr. Henderson in my absence last week. He called me about it and just explaining it to me. And I think they're good. We'll talk to them and see if they can, how far they can proceed. But we have to give the 30-day window, I believe. Xander can jump on and say this, but we're just moving as bloody fast as we can, but it's probably the January 10th meeting. We'll do 2 readings, I suspect, and put it to rest. But go ahead, Xander.
Tonight, there would have to be 1 reading, would there not? The first reading would have to be tonight, and then the second and third would be on the 10th.
That would be my recommendation, but go ahead, Xander.
Thank you. Sorry.
Yeah, so it's the Community Planning Act does say it has to be it's actually 21 days from when it's advertised, but I think 21 days puts us it's like right on New Year's or something like that, or right after New Year's. So maybe you could speed it up by a week or so there. And definitely no issues with doing 2 readings in one night from the Community Planning Act. It's just that 21 days for the public hearing that you do have to do.
Thank you, Mr.
I'll
Goldman.
review with the proponent tomorrow, Deputy Mayor, just to see if that extra week is needed, but they were going to start it in early January anyway, and given the holidays, I'm hoping the 10th is sufficient, but I'll talk to them and we may get together on the Wednesday or Thursday after the holidays for a very quick meeting.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Spear. I see Councillor Heenan first and then Councillor Gomichelle.
Yes, Your Worship and Council, I would support whatever route we need to take to get this expedited. I understand Councillor Gomichelle. I understand Councillor Hurdle. I also understand the 21 days. And as we know with procedure, we have to follow it. So I would be supportive of doing 2 readings on our first council back. That's just my opinion. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Heenan. Councillor Gomichelle.
Thank you, Your Worship. I don't know about you guys, but seeing how we can't travel over the holidays, I have many things, many projects planned over the holidays, and I suspect these folks would like to get started perhaps over the holidays. Isn't there a way we can issue a building permit that's like legally non-compliant in the spirit of the air, and say you can start, and we'll be issuing your building permit as soon as we're able to. Just go ahead and start, and we won't pay attention until we have all our paperwork done. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you very much, Councillor Gomichelle. Mr. Gopin, can you respond to that, or Mr. Spear?
Well, as I reiterated, we were talking to the proponents and giving them early phases suggestions that may not necessarily require, because there's some things like electrical that just requires electrical waiver but doesn't require a building permit. So we're working with them and the RSC to try to get the ground running as quickly as we can, but we can't give advice to supersede any of the provincial acts, unfortunately.
Thank you, Mr. Spear, and I thank the staff for working so well with the components. Mr. Gopin, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, the legal way to do what Councillor Gomichelle is hinting at is it's called a temporary use variance. And we've done it before for a few different things in town, like 182 Water Street, Char and Chowder, that started as a temporary use. The problem is it will take about the same amount of time. So rather than going through that and then having to do this, it's basically 21 days is about as fast as anything can get done. And I haven't spoken with the proponents, but I know Mr. Henderson did, and I think they understood the situation, and this solution is not going to cause them any major issues in getting done what they want to get done on their timeline.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gopin. So what I'm understanding, Council, is that we can do 2 readings, and you are agreed to doing that at January. Oh, sorry, Mr. Knopper.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just want to bring clarification here, folks. Your procedural bylaw does not allow you to do 2 readings in one night. Until you pass it for 3rd reading, you are not eligible to do 2 readings in one night. The soonest you could do 2 readings in one night is January 17th at your first regular council meeting. So currently the way the process is scheduled is on your agenda right now is for the public hearing of objections to happen on the Monday night before the council meeting. I would recommend passing the procedural bylaw. Then that gives you the authority to do 2 readings in one night.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Knopper. Good catch. So Council, is that agreeable to everybody? If that we have to follow the procedure, that's the way we have to do it. Councillor Neal. And then
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm still just a little confused as to the procedure here. I understand the requirements for the Community Planning Act, but if this has already gone through council, it's already gone through readings of council, it's already gone through PRAC. The Southern New Brunswick Service Commission has issued approval letters to them. I mean, it's simply a clerical error, it appears. Like, is there no quicker way to fix this simple mistake? It seems like we're creating a giant loophole here.
I don't disagree with you, but just look at it this way, is that when the new zoning bylaw was passed without it, that superseded all previous work. That's why amendments up to the new zoning bylaws are always incorporated. And so this was overlooked. So legally, what would happen is a judge would start at that as the stand document. I don't disagree with anything you're saying from a practical standpoint. I'm just saying from a procedural and legal standpoint, that is the reality we're trying to work through. So we're moving as fast as we can. We'll talk tomorrow with staff. We have a planning meeting anyway. If we can put something between, like I said, a real quick meeting between New Year's and or Christmas and New Year's, just for a one item thing, try to move this. We'll see if we can do it. But probably the 10th or as early as the 3rd will probably be the only times we can do it.
Thank you, Mr. Spear. Councillor Heenan, you had your hand up. Do you still wish to speak?
Yes, your worship, thank you. I just wanted to make one little comment. Like, we are back here tonight because of a procedural error that we all made last week, and we had to redo amendments, etc. So we said last week that we had to do this to protect ourselves and to protect the community. So unfortunately, if we're bound by procedures, I don't know how we can do it any quicker. As much as I would love to say, go do it tomorrow. As I said, we're here tonight because of the fact that we didn't follow a procedural point last week. So we're here tonight to make corrections. So we have to correct this issue as well. And it's unfortunate that people have to suffer because we goofed. It's the same as like we did last week, right? So that's just all I'd say. Whatever it takes to make this happen, we got to do it, because we don't, as Councillor Gumashal says, we're embarrassing ourselves, but we have to make sure that we're in the realm of what we're supposed to do, because we're under a microscope. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Heenan. And I know staff will work as quickly as they can to rectify this situation. So I'm putting my faith in you guys. So which I'm sure us as councillors will do that. We do have a good staff, and they have caught this, and they will work together with the advocate, or whatever you want to call them, and do it as soon as possible without the mistake that we made. So we'll rectify that as soon as possible. Correct. Okay, council. So now, Mr. Spear, Mr. Knopper, do I read this for the first time now? And then we proceed on to the other two motions?
I
Your
don't
worship,
think you actually took a formal vote on this yet. You were still in the
No.
debate.
Oh,
So
I'm
I think
so
you still have to
sorry.
call a vote.
Okay, I need to call the vote. So all those in favor, signify by saying aye. Contrary minded, I don't see any, so it's carried unanimously. Now I will read it for the first time. So bylaw number Z21-06, a bylaw to amend bylaw number Z21-01, being zoning bylaw for the town of St. Andrews. Be it enacted by the council of the town of St. Andrews as follows. 1, by adding to the list of CC zone uses, subject to the terms and conditions, conditional uses bracketed in section 5.2.2(1), the following. And the number is XVI, a Nanobrewery. Number 2, add a definition of the town of St. Andrews zoning bylaw Z21-01 for a nanobrewery. And in the quotation marks, nanobrewery means the small scale manufacturing of beer, wine, spirits, other alcoholic beverages. The maximum floor space allowed for this use is 3,500 square feet. This use may include the sale of alcoholic beverages to the public for consumption within the premises. Accessory activities may include the preparation and sale of food and storage, packaging, bottling, canning, and shipping of products manufactured within the premises. This use does not include outdoor manufacturing activities or unenclosed outdoor storage of material or equipment associated with the business. This use does not generate odor, sound, dust, waste, or delivery traffic in excess of that which is the characteristic of the zone in which it is located. 3, by repealing paragraph bracket C in section 5.2.1 and substituting the following, C is in brackets, a licensed premises as a secondary use within a restaurant or a nanobrewery, and this is read for the first time the 13th day of December 2021. And Councillor Heenan, you're on your second motion with this one. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship and Council. Second motion, that council requests views of Planning Advisory Committee for the town of St. Andrews as per section 110 of the Community Planning Act on amendment to bylaw Z21-06 to zoning bylaw Z21-01 regarding nano breweries. And I so move.
Thank you, Councillor Heenan. We need a seconder. Councillor Blanchard. Any discussion or questions, council? If not, we'll proceed to the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Carried unanimously. And your last motion with this one, Councillor Heenan?
Thank you, Your Worship. That council set the date of Monday, January the 17th, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. through an electronic meeting for public hearing of objections as per section 111 of the Community Planning Act on amendment bylaw of Z21-06 to zoning bylaw Z21-01 regarding nano breweries. And I so move.
Thank you, Councillor Heenan. We need a seconder. Council. Councillor Neal, thank you very much. Any questions or concerns? Not seeing any. I'll go for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Carried unanimously. Thank you very much, Councillor Heenan. This motion, we welcome the mayor back.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. You chaired the majority of the meeting tonight, so I appreciate that. There is nothing under new business, so we will go to question period. Anything, Mr. Knopper, tonight?
No questions, Your Worship.
Thank you. Councillors or Deputy Mayor's comments?
No, just to wish the town a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year again. I didn't think I'd have a second opportunity, but be safe if you journey out of our safe little community and go to some other community. Please do not bring COVID back with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Appreciate the season greetings. Anyone else? Myself, I'm good for this evening. At this point, we will go to closed session. So at 7:09 p.m. I'm looking for a mover to go into closed session for Local Governance Act 68(1)(c) information that could cause financial loss or gain to a person or the local government or could jeopardize negotiations leading to an agreement or contract. We've got Councillor Blumenthal and seconded by Councillor Hurdle. Anyone oppose? Any comments on this? Call the question. All those in favor of going into closed session?
Aye.
That's everybody that we are in closed. We'll look for a motion to come out.
Just real quick, your word.
Councillor Gubishal, seconded by Councillor Heenan. I'm crying for my man cold. All in favor of coming out of close? A motion to adjourn. Councillor Gubishal, Councillor Blanchard. All in favor of adjourning? I need a glass of water. Thank you.